There, we are live. Welcome everybody. Rob Provencher here from NoBS Photo Success with our webinar with Brian DeMint, and we're going to introduce Brian in about 30 seconds time. I just want to let you know that Brian is one of the presenters who's coming up to the Inferno at the infernoworkshop.com in Toronto the weekend of April 13th to the 15th. So for 3 days, if you're interested in coming out, checking out 3 intensive days of photography education with guys like Brian, check it out. So infernoworkshop.com. So we're real excited to have Brian with us tonight. Just before we give control over to Brian and let him carry on with the webinar, I just want to let you know the format we're using. If you have any questions, fire questions away. I will be fielding and moderating the questions. If a question is urgent, I feel it needs to be at my discretion. Kind of, if I need to butt in and just interrupt Brian, I'm going to do so and get the question answered. If it's a question that can wait to the Q&A at the end, I'll send you a private email, let you know that we'll hang on to it to the end. Or if it's a question that I can personally answer because maybe you weren't paying attention and you missed that little bit of information, I'll just let you know whatever that information is. So that's how we're basically going to run it. So Brian will be going on with his presentation. I'll be moderating the questions. Want to let you know too, I am recording this and it will be inserted into the NoBS Photo Success webinar section, so you can go back and review it and watch it at any point in time. So having said that, all the way from Joplin, Missouri, I give to you Mr. Brian DeMint. Brian, you are on.
All right. Thank you, sir. First, I want to thank Rob for having me here. Usually I do presentations with my wife, so I'm going to say us all the time. It's not that I have multiple personality syndrome. It's just how I roll. So anyway, tonight's presentation is going to be on something that can help all photographers in every level. I see so many photographers coming up on the purely technical side, which is the exact opposite of myself. I came up purely on the artistic side. I'm not sure what the f-stop is. I think I know. I'm pretty close. I'm getting there, but it's going to take some time. But as far as the artistic value and merit of images, that I can help you with. So basically what we're going to do, I'm going to use a little presentation software called Prezi. It has a little interaction with it. It's going to be a little bit slow over the web, so forgive me if it's a little slow updating on your screen. But I like it much better than PowerPoint. So anyway, we'll get started here. The elements and principles of design. We're just going to deal with the elements tonight. Okay, before we get started too far, there's a few things that we need to clarify, because I'll be referring to these things as we go through these images. So just about any image that you do, you have an emphasis or point of interest. The way that we get to these, or lead the viewer's eye to these areas, is the area of highest contrast, where the lightest light meets the darkest dark. The area most in focus, so you know how we do the blurred backgrounds and the in focus to draw the eye. The area of purest color will draw the eye. The human element, you have the greatest landscape in the world, you put some horrible looking human in it and they become the subject matter. A recognizable character or symbol. Everybody's kind of left-brained. That's how we're brought up. So anything that's recognizable as a character or a symbol tends to take precedence over other objects within the work of art. So I will be referring to the point of interest quite a bit as we go here. And of course, you could do a whole webinar on that. Okay. Basically, I liken the point of interest to being, say you're trapped on a desert island here, and this is a really poor rendition of a desert island, but it's desert island. So anyway, what would you do? There's thousands of images out there. So how do you gain people's attention? You need to gain people's attention for them to not only look at your piece of art or your photograph, you need to capture their attention and keep their attention. So what would you do if you're on a desert island? One, say you would flap your hands crazily if there was a ship passing by. So we use texture that makes things very busy. That's how I liken it to. Other things you could do would be you would put a sign in the sand, like in dirt, you know, like black rocks on the you know, white sands. So we use contrast. We also, since we're making shapes, letters, or shapes into letters, or letters into shapes, shape is another way, and that is also an element of design. You could light a fire at night, and that is contrast once again. So we're using, you know, the red blaze against the black background to gain people's attention. You might light a fire during the day where you have the black smoke against the blue or white sky to gain people's attention. So anyway, I thought it was kind of a clever way, analogy of trying to get people's attention, and holding their attention is the difficult part. Of course, you can do something weird and then they walk away, discuss it, but getting their attention is the main thing. Composition, once again, this is a whole sequence in itself. I'm not going to go into it too much. Basically, it's just something that'll be mentioned as we go through the elements of design, and it is a topic on its own. And somebody's going to have to pronounce that for me. For blah blah sequence. That was Italian for you. And basically, he was an Italian mathematician that came up with the golden selection, the golden spiral, and the golden triangle. These are all mathematical calculations as far as what the eye sees as being correct, as far as the center of interest that you place within a given rectangle or square. And then, of course, you've all heard of the rule of thirds. If not, then you're about my level. Then harmonic triangles, that's another way of dividing your image up. So, and here we have the golden spiral placed upon this young lady here, just to kind of see, so people can kind of see what the golden spiral is all about. The rule of thirds applied to the same subject. And I'm off a little bit, and there's ways to correct that kind of stuff. But basically, you can kind of understand what it is there. Okay, now we're going to go to some images that didn't work. These are not images that I took. Basically, these are images that people that are probably doing something other than photography took. So we're going to go through these. And the main reason why I'm showing these is because these people really didn't use the elements of design or taste or brains to create these images whatsoever. So we're going to go through a few of these, and if this doesn't make you feel better about photography, then I probably can't help you. But we have this guy hugging this giant stuffed animal. And then we have a poorly laid out composition. Then we have a guy that has a secret, and I'm pretty sure I know what this secret is. Then I don't know. I can't even analyze it. Future weatherman. This dude here, you do not want this senior portrait photographer to take pictures of your senior young man. If you look over here to the right, I kind of like the fact that he's got liquor involved as well. That's pretty cool. That's always a big hit with senior photography. So, and then, let's see, okay, it's totally void of any artistic measure. And then same photographer, you do not want that man around your child. Okay. And then we're going to move on to a different subject matter here. This is actually one of mine. You might think it was one included in the group above, but Basically, another thing that you need to know whenever you shoot your subject is you need to know your subject. This was a band of 5, dudes that wanted their picture taken. They're a band. Basically, I'm not a big fan of shooting bands because it's usually 5 unattractive human beings that don't want their picture taken, but they want to be famous. So anyway, we have 5 totally different personalities. So you can't shoot a subject without knowing your subject matter. So I listened to their music before I agreed to do this shoot, and it was pretty painful, but the guys were really nice, and they know that I talk about them here in the lecture. So basically, I kind of arranged them a little bit to how their music sounded, or who had the most influence in the music. So the music sounded somewhere in between Mr. Macho here and the Son of Satan. So when I say Mr. Macho, I'm not attracted to this guy or anything. If we were both in prison and that kind of thing, I don't know. But anyway, then we had this Latino guy here, and then back in the back we put this guy, Mongo. He's just like this giant prehistoric dude that could just like beat the crap out of drums. Now, had I put Mongo in the front, I think would have had a different feel to this band. And then we have this guy in the back here. He's not like, it's kind of weird because he had like the shortest legs of any human. He's not deformed or anything like that, or I wouldn't make fun of him. But he's actually standing on a rock that's behind this guy here. So his legs are a little bit, he probably should be in a circus instead of in a band. But he was a cool guy, and I arranged them a little bit rhythmically here to kind of lead your eye through this picture. But the main reason I'm showing this is that you need to know your subject matter, and then we have lots of contrast going back and forth and blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're going to actually get into the elements of design. All visual images are made up from the elements of design, elements and principles of design. So, it doesn't matter if you're shooting with a camera or you're painting a canvas or you're doing whatever, drawing a picture. There are certain elements that make images better than other images. And our brain inherently knows what some of these things are. When you're flicking through your images through your, I used to call them raw images, but I don't shoot in raw, I shoot in JPEG. So when you're flicking through your images, like through Bridge or through Lightroom, almost instantly, before you can even analyze the image, you know that that image is better than the rest of the images. Well, how do you know? Because it's inherently put into our brains when we're born that certain things look better than others. So people have analyzed this and kind of figured out why certain things work better than others, or maybe not so much why, but that they do work better than other ways. Now, we can all go out and we can all buy the same camera, we can buy the same camera lens, we can buy the same backdrop, and blah, blah, blah. Now, what's going to make your images stand out more than your competitors or than other people is this right here, your knowledge of the elements and principles of design, your way to manipulate the elements of design so your image is more attractive and keeps your viewers' interest more so than your competitor. And it doesn't have to do with Canon and Nikon and blah, blah, blah. And people can, write me nasty letters if they want, because I don't get into the big argument of Canon or Nikon. If you show me somebody who can flip through a magazine and tell me whether an image was shot with a Canon or Nikon as they flip through those images, maybe I'll agree with that. But until then, I think that the elements of design is more important. So here basically, and if you check from website to website and from teacher to teacher, professor to professor, the elements of design will kind of vary a little bit. Other people have some different ones that they put in here. But to me, basically, it's line, texture, shape, space, color, and form I've crossed out because form is really a 3D type of thing. If we were going to discuss sculpture, I would leave form in, but for the sake of this 2D art, I'm going to leave it out. I probably should have put value in here as well, but we'll probably talk about value a little bit as we go through here. Now what I've done, we're going to talk about lines first, and when we get into the images, what I've done is how I study is I go back and look at the great masters. I try not, and I feel that this is a problem with a lot of photographers today. I think that they look too much sideways to see what their competitor is doing, to see what the people across town or across the street are doing, what the people in their organization is doing. And instead of looking sideways, I think we need to look up. And that's going to keep us from copying and try to keep us being original, and that's what's going to bring people to you, is that originality. Everybody wants to maintain their individuality, and that the way to do it is become a photographer who is not shooting like everybody else. So the images that you're going to see here in a little bit are from everybody from Ansel Adams to Bill Brandt to Ernest Haas and so on. And I have put some of my own images in here, not because I want to compare myself to them in any way. That would be utterly ridiculous. But I've put them in here to show how I've used these influences and incorporated into my own work. So please don't think that I'm narcissistic in any way here. I mean, I think that I'm, pretty attractive and stuff, but, besides that, no. Okay, we're going to talk about lines here. It's horizontal, vertical, converging, diagonal, and leading. And I know a lot of you have been through this kind of thing before, but I think it's very easy for us to forget about these things and just take things as they come and get into this kind of rut of shooting every day or shooting every other day. And I think we need to be refreshed to this kind of stuff. And people who haven't been exposed to this before, I think it's a great learning tool. So we're going to talk about each one of these a little bit. This is by Ansel Adams. Basically, it's a horizontal design. Horizontally, things that are placed in an image are generally referred to as being tranquil, being a little bit more laid back. It's probably associated with laying down. So as we can see the shoreline here, we can see the clouds coming across here. We can see the water ripples and stuff. For the most part, this is a horizontally based composition, and that kind of produces a calm. Even though we have this kind of rolling storm coming in here, overall the sense is that we have this kind of calming sensation. So unless, of course, you're in this boat or whatever it is, and you're probably freaking out. But this is a perfect example of converging lines. This is by Ansel Adams as well. Of course, this is a bridge, and what I really like is the fact that we have all these wires coming down and these supports coming down, and they're leading us straight down to the middle of the city. I really like the fact that this is a formally balanced image. It's the same on the left and the right, basically. And a lot of times, this does not follow the rule of thirds, which is kind of cool. Maybe it does a little bit in the placement of a few things, but the fact that it goes right down the middle here makes it very strong. And these lines here, these curvature lines, as they come down, they're called leading lines. So since they're starting big, here and going smaller, that's kind of how your eye will work. It'll go from large to small. And in the Western Hemisphere, or Western influence, we'll read images from left to right usually, versus the Eastern influence where they read from right to left. So we would see certain images a little bit different than those under Eastern influence. But anyway, basically all these lines are leading us into the city. I think it's really well done. This is by Bill Brandt. A couple things I want to point out here, because I could have put this in shape as well. A lot of times we're taught, we don't want to lose the details in the blacks. Don't lose the details in the black. Okay, well, I love the fact that we've got this big black, almost pentagon shape here, and we did lose the details in the black, but we do know exactly what this is, that it's a building, just by its silhouette. And I think that's pretty brilliant. Now, why I brought this slide up is to show diagonal lines. We have these diagonal lines leading up to this hill here, and then these diagonal lines here coming down. Diagonal lines tend to create a sense of mystery, agitation, a sense of foreboding, a little bit more dynamic composition. I can pretty much assure you by the time you walk to the top of this little hill here, there's probably somebody that's going to kill you that's like right behind here. It's got this huge sense of foreboding to me. And you can barely see it. It's kind of funny when I look at some of these old images or older images, things that we would probably end up photoshopping out now, but like these telephone lines here. Now, if we would Photoshop those out, that'd probably be a mistake because, they're diagonal lines too. So it kind of adds just a little bit of third or maybe, secondary or tertiary interest, one of those words. So it's kind of clever that those are in there. I do like these big ominous shapes. And then, of course, this could have been under texture as well because of the cobblestones and the wet cobblestones, and it's pretty clever. And, looking at these images, too, this looks like it was just right after a rainstorm, or maybe it was during a rainstorm or something like that. You need to take advantage of certain weather and daylight situations where things might be or appear a little bit different. This is by Ansel Adams as well. I like this because it kind of shows that these curvature lines kind of lead your eye all throughout this image. We really don't have a point of interest through this image, or at least I feel that we don't. It's, if you squint your eyes a little bit, you kind of get this abstract of these darks and light lines coming through in and out of this image. It's kind of leading you in and out of this image. I think it's really clever, and it's basically I like viewing it as kind of an abstract. Even though it's got all this stuff going on, of course, it's perfectly balanced because it's Ansel Adams. We have this repeating repetition of cars coming through here, so your eye kind of wants to follow that repetition as it's going through. So basically what I wanted to show here was curvature lines and how your eye is lit by these curves. Now, while I'm going through this, how does this apply to whatever photography you're doing? You need to scope out your landscape. You need to place your subject matter in such a way so that leading lines point towards your subject matter. You want things to bring attention to your subject matter. So diagonal lines, vertical lines, horizontal lines, these leading lines like this, anything that can take advantage of the landscape or your studio, and like in jewelry, we'll use the fingers as leading lines. And, we don't have them point to it like they're pointing out a zit on somebody's face or something. Basically, we just kind of have it like daintily bringing attention to the jewelry area by the way the fingers are pointed. We'll have them pointed at the jewelry instead of away from the jewelry, that type of thing. This is a vertical composition with lines. This is by Diane Arbus, A Child in the Park with a Hand Grenade. Vertical lines tend to designate strength or power. The fact that this child looks, possessed, and he's got a hand grenade in his mouth or his hand is, disturbing enough. But the fact that it's all a vertical composition kind of adds to the whole thing here. We have these trees in the back that kind of echo the strap that's going on here. His legs here almost echo the trees. His knees almost look knobby, like knot holes in the tree. Of course, it's his expression and the way that he's holding his hands here that really express that strength and power and bizarreness that this kid has. But I like the fact that his strap is off the shoulder too. This kind of disheveled look works well with this image as well. And then, it's just basically very strong because of these strong verticals throughout the center here. A little bit cleverly, you can notice that this black line here is kind of a leading line into the image, which is kind of nice. And over here we have this secondary point of interest, this lady in this black coat. So I think that makes a nice secondary point of interest. Another, again, this figure in the background, would we have photoshopped that out now? I'm almost certain that we would. It's kind of strange, like Diane Arbus was very much a purist. I don't believe that she did any dark room manipulation. If she did, it was very little. So I'm sure she took numerous takes of this, and had she been bothered by this person in the back, she probably would have just yelled, would you get out of the freaking picture? So I don't think that, I think the person is meant to be there. She would not take that by accident. So once again, we have I'm still trying to figure out why they would give a child with this kind of demeanor a hanger, a fake hand grenade. So it's kind of an interesting story. Once again, we have leading lines going through here. I thought this was really a clever fashion image. Basically, that's the thing that I take the most is fashion images. I thought that this was really a clever way to lead the eye around this image because they're following all these lines here. I really don't have much more to say about that besides, we probably could have put this under a color as well because it's magnificent color. But I thought it was really clever. It leads your eye through the image and gives that's kind of what you want to do. You want to maintain the viewer's attention. The longer you can keep them in this image without them exiting the image is, your goal. This is a brilliant photographer from Russia. His name is Oleg Aprisco. At the time I think he took this, he was 19, which really upsets me because I'm like 50. So anyway, it's like I love his work because it always leaves a sense of mystery. I want to know more what's going on here. Is this a ritual that's going on? Or has this chick walked out of the bathroom and had toilet paper stuck to her wrist? I have no idea what's going on here. But I think it's very clever. It's one of those images that looks like it's a still from a movie. I want to know more what's going on. What's going on with this chick? Where are these lines coming from? What's going on? So, and that's this sense of mystery and this sense of, okay, I want to interpret this in my own way. I'm sure that, I'm bizarre and the way that I think is probably different than any other human thinks. So things, I'll interpret different than the next person because of all the experiences that we've had, blah, blah, blah. Now, once again, we have these leading lines, and I like the fact that it goes blurry, then it goes sharper here. That also helps put the, as we talked about, point of interest, blurry versus sharpen. The sharper it is, the more interest it's going to get. So we do follow these lines in instead of outward. So I think that's very important. So, and since we do read images left to right, we are reading this from this way. Now, in Asia, they might read this different. But anyway, they come to this figure here, and it's a great sense of bringing attention to your subject matter. She would have got it anyway for the most part because she is the darkest dark here on the lightest light. And then she is the most in focus. He used a number of different elements to bring attention to her. But those leading lines are just brilliant to me. This is Ansel Adams again. This is wider lines tend to have more emphasis than thinner lines. I like this image because we have this S-curve leading us into the mountains here. So, you know, once again, if you're out and around, you have to take advantage of your situation, and you have to move to what angle does the best for you. As far as, you know, we need to be looking at these leading lines. We need to be looking for things that will make our image more interesting. We need to be looking for things that will lead the viewer into the subject matter. This is a perfect example. We have this S-curve here of this river bringing us up right smack into the middle of the image where your eye just rests. So I think it's brilliant. Okay, this is an example of my work here. It's not too wonderful. But one thing that you know, when she was just laying on the leaves, it just looked like she was just getting smothered with leaves. So I thought, I need something to make this more dynamic and where people would look around. So what I did was I threw the tool on the ground here behind her, and I tried to make it where it would lead your eye throughout this image. Of course, she's gorgeous, and she's a great kid as well. So that's going to capture you a lot. But the fact that this leading line is taking you through this image, it kind of keeps you in the image more. And it keeps this busyness from all these leaves of overwhelming the image to me. It kind of gives it a little bit of a different texture and different color, as it were. Okay, the next topic we're going to talk about is texture here. Again, this is one of mine. I show this for a couple reasons. One, yeah, we did actually paint her blue. That was pretty fun. We have two different things going on here. We have real textures here. This is basically a hat, or well, it's basically a fruit bowl we bought at the dollar store, and then we put this whatever this stuff is here, weeds. I'm not very outdoor tuned, so when we start talking about outdoors, I'm totally lost. Outdoors to me is like for critters. It would be like, you know, if a bear showed up at my studio, I'd be like, dude, get out. So outside is for critters, inside is for human beings. We have the real textures here, and then on her, she was a little bit too smooth, and I kind of wanted to show this cracked paint, but I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I laid this texture on her, and at the time I thought it was pretty hot. Now I think it's kind of goofy, but I could have done better. But I kind of wanted this dried paint look, but this would be an implied texture. This is a texture that was put on here secondary after we had done the first, you know, initial look. And for those that are interested, this is a dollar placemat that we cut up and put around her here. And then this is just regular tempera paint that we painted her face up here. And this is just some fake flowers from Joann's. So move on here. This is by the great Edward Steichen. This is Norma Shearer. This image has been reproduced many different times, and I haven't seen anything that came close to Steichen. I love this texture, this wonderful see-through texture over her face, her smooth face here. And of course, she's got the eyes of some anime character, so it kind of helps out in the whole overall look of this thing. So it's a brilliant image. It's a wonderful use of texture. You know, brilliant. This is by Palio Reversi, who's one of my current favorite photographers. He shoots for Italian Vogue for the most part, and Vogue and Numero. One reason why I showed this is because I love all this texture, all this busyness that's going on here. It's just busy. And then right here, we have all this busyness on her arms, and then her hair is a freaking mess. It's awesome. But what I love is that her face is smooth here. It gives the eye a place to rest. We have all this busyness going on, and then bam, we have all this smooth texture or smooth facade here going on. And it kind of gives your eye a place to rest, and since it is kind of follows the rule of thirds a little bit, becomes a subject matter. I do like the fact that the background is blurred out a little bit. If not, it would have been really played hard with this dress. And of course, if you're shooting fashion photography, you're very concerned with silhouettes. So I think that's probably why he did that. Plus, you know, he's just brilliant. So, use of textures. Once again, we have a lady dressed up as a giant chicken. This is a very popular outfit. Unless you live near Colonel Sanders, it probably would not be very popular there. And once again, we have all this busyness going on here, blah 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 blah, all this busyness, and then your eye rests here on her face. I think it's a pretty image. It's a brilliant image, and of course we have this dark surrounding this, so that even gives more emphasis to this texture that's going on. One thing I like about this texture is that it kind of appeals to another one of our senses, and that is that of touch, of feeling. So we kind of get the impression that this is this big, soft, furry chicken suit around her. And so I think that the fact that it appeals to another one of our senses, something that we can, get in tune with, helps make the image more interesting. This is one of mine. This is a burning bush image. Basically, why I showed this image is that, again, we have all these textures going on here. I think it's interesting because we do, this could be under lines as well, because we have all these lines leading you throughout the image. But we have this kind of fire texture here. We have the smooth texture of her face, and she's pretty calm for, having her head on fire. I think it's pretty cool. Once again, use of texture, design elements. I'm really proud of this image. This is an image of my daughter, our daughter, my wife. Basically, we just have confetti going on here, and we put confetti on her eyes, and then this could be under color as well. But for the most part, we have texture going on. We texture the hair, and we texture, this cloth has texture in it. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, since I am a fashion photographer, I get asked a lot of times about, they just assume that Dina makes all the decisions about the earrings and the makeup and everything. And sometimes she does, but for 99% of the time it's me. Now, how I choose, accessories is by the elements of design. So if we have something that's textured like this, now this one we didn't have any earrings that really matched, so we just threw some hot glue on here, threw some confetti on that, and that was your earring. Now, when you're picking out accessories or tops and things, you want to, and hairstyles, you want to look at the elements of design. Look at what they're wearing. Go by color, texture, shape, all these things. You want those things to be echoed in the jewelry, that type of thing. So that's how I make those decisions, all based on the elements of design. The next element of design that we're going to discuss is shape. This is another brilliant image by the great Edward Steichen. Once again, we have this huge shape over here, which is gorgeous, and just because of the silhouette alone, we understand that this is a piano. We do not need the details in the blacks here. We have a little bit here, but even if they weren't there, we wouldn't need them. Just to understand that this is a piano because of the silhouette. I love the fact that she's echoing the curvature and the uprightness of this lid here with her arm. So we have this kind of repeating pattern as we go through here. So, and she's almost in silhouette, so we have this cool shape here. And then we have this little dude over here. I don't know if that's her husband. He's just really a small guy. I kind of get the feeling that he's like a tiki dude. I don't know. Primitive art was very influential turn of the century and in the 20s and that type of thing. So Art Deco. So I imagine it's a little tiki dude. Why you put him in here? I think you put him in here for balance or a secondary interest. So it's Edward Steichen. Who the hell's going to figure it out? I mean, we're all lesser human beings, so all we can do is guess. I think it's a brilliant image, brilliant use of shape, lovely image. Once again, we're looking at uses of shape here. You can divide this image into 4 different shapes here. We have, and I like this because it uses these kind of triangle shapes going on here. We have this triangle here. We have this dark triangle here, this medium format triangle here, and this front triangle here that's very heavily textured. And of course, if you look at the way that the wavy lines here are going in, it is leading you into this image. So your eye is coming in, looking at this image. It's got a resting spot here, then it goes to this big, black, dark, ominous shape, and then finally to here. I kind of like the fact that the sky does not have a bunch of clouds here, that the sky itself becomes just another shape in itself. Instead of being cluttered with clouds and bringing your interest up into the sky, it is, they did not Photoshop in a bunch of clouds because back then they were like, what the hell's Photoshop? So anyway, it is a brilliant image. I believe this is Ansel Adams as well. It could be Weston. I'm not sure. Forgive me for not knowing. This is Irving Penn, probably the greatest fashion shooter of all time. This is his wife, Linda Foregraves. And basically what we have here, we have this giant checkerboard dress. And I like the fact that we don't have the details all in here. We don't see all the little fluff going on here in the collar, because obviously it was some sort of fur collar. But the fact that it's this ominous shape coming around her neck here, we have the shape of her hat, which is very unique, and then we have the shape of her glove here, and then of course we have this black and white shapes leading you throughout the image. I also like to point out too, if you're doing fashion images, this is really clever to me. I like the fact that her lips are so dark. I think that makes a wonderful shape right there. And then she's got eyebrows like Fred Flintstone. Look at this chick. Man, I mean, that's some eyebrows. And then we've got these cool little, this cat eye thing going on. So it has some cool shapes going on here, these boomerang eyebrows and all this stuff. So the shapes here are very important. It's great use of negative space here. You have the space right here between her hand and her body that kind of gives you that separation. And the fact that it is on a white background, it does help really emphasize the shapes. It also emphasizes the dress, and that was the whole meaning of the shoot, as a fashion shoot. So he wanted the interest here, he got the interest there. This again is by Oleg Prisko, the Russian photographer, current photographer. Brilliant use of space and negative space. You have this drape going over what it appears to be statues here. And once again, it adds that sense of mystery. It's like, what the heck is going on here? I mean, this is just, I hope the dude's not that fat. I mean, if he's that fat, that's a mess. But I think it's just this cool drape of fabric all over the place here. He's divided the images into 2. So you have this large, really big, ominous shape, and then when you start looking closer, you start seeing these faces in here, which is really swift. and then he's kept the background fairly plain, so your eye just kind of ignores this area, and so this gets the emphasis here. We have these kind of leading lines. You can take them either way. You can either go into the image or you can bring them out to where these faces are, which is very interesting to me. And once again, there's a whole sense of mystery going on here. What is going on? This looks like a still out of a movie again. It's like, I want to know what the hell's going on. I want to see the rest of this movie. And that's what holds the viewer's attention. It's when they go home after they see this image, and this image is in their head the next day, and they're thinking, wow, what was going on in that image? And everybody has their own interpretation of what's going on in this image. And that's what art is all about, is it's in the eye of the beholder. This is a really brilliant image. Ernest Haas was commissioned to take a photograph of these nurses that were graduating at this school. Instead of lining them up, you know, like we all do, in two sorts of kind of military/school lines, he found this cool stairwell to capture their images. It's almost to the point where the shape itself almost is more important than the subject, which is the girls. Now, you know, who am I to question Ernest Haas? But I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant image and use of space and shape and form here. I said form. It is kind of 3D. So, you know, and that's what we have to do as artists. We have to find new and different ways to shoot. We have to find, that's what gives you your edge. And how do you get that edge? It's by going through the masters of the past. It's by sitting here listening to this dork from Joplin, Missouri. You know, I'm just above wearing overalls, and you know, I'm practically illiterate, but it's you know, I do know a little bit about art, and I think that that's how you learn. That's how you learn. This is a brilliant image, I think, and this is one that kind of emphasizes where the negative space can sometimes become more important than the positive space. He was taking pictures of these skyscrapers, and all of a sudden, you know, the negative space was more important because it was a recognizable symbol of you know, of a cross. So this image is called The Cross. I apologize again. I do not know. I just pulled this off the web, and I don't think it had a artist name with it. So I really forgive me on that. It's pathetic that I don't know, but I think that this is something that we have to watch out for. Sometimes that our negative space does not take over our positive space and become the subject matter. Now on this image, it's brilliant. But a lot of times I see it happen with portraiture, and it's something, especially along the edges of portraiture, it creates these kind of little negative space, interesting shapes that kind of take over what's going on. So, and this one, I think it's a brilliant use of negative space. Lovely image, evangelical, beautiful. Okay, everybody's going to look at this image a little bit different. This is Bill Brandt, and like I said, I have a little bit of a morbid sense of humor here. I don't know if it's a sense of humor, maybe I'm just morbid. But anyway, when I saw this, I was like, wow, look at this shape right there. What's that look like? To me, it looks like a coffin. I mean, I don't know if these chicks are already dead and they just propped them up because they just needed somebody in the image, or if these chicks are about to die. Or maybe it's two dudes in drag and they're just, you know, hanging out. I don't know. But I kind of get this sense of foreboding because of this coffin shape around them. And then again, we have the dynamics of the diagonal lines coming into this, leading lines bringing you up into their coffin, as it were. So it's a brilliant use of shape and form and color, and I like the fact that we balance things out with this little beautiful window over here to the left. You can read all kinds of special meanings into that as if you want. And the other thing that gave me the idea of this coffin shape was this ornate material here around this. So I thought it was a brilliant use of shape. You know, framing out your subject, and that's something that you want to do a lot. You know, if there's cool things to frame them out in, you know, I wouldn't suggest, you know, creating a coffin shape and, you know, putting a senior in it. Probably won't sell a whole lot. But this is, you know, it's a brilliant, you know, that's what makes artists brilliant, is by recognizing their surroundings, taking advantage of the surroundings, and coming up with something different. Okay, super powerful image here. This is by John Hartfield. Basically, it was an anti-Nazi photo montage. If you look at his work, even today, you know, 60 years later, is still some of the most shocking things that I've seen. It is just so brilliantly hardcore. It just makes, you know, it just really hits home. This is called Blood and Iron, and basically we have the swastika here tied together with a rope and blood dripping off of the swastika here. He was very anti-Nazi, and he did photo montages, about 238 between like 1933 and 1937, somewhere around in there. And again, I'm just a hillbilly. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's somewhere close to that. And these images are just so powerful and striking. Now, what I think is so powerful about this image is that you immediately recognize the symbolism here. And if you don't, then it's sad, because this is a very sad moment in history, of course. So this is it's a brilliant use of shape, brilliant use of symbolism. Very hardcore, and really tough to look at. Okay, the next element of design that we're going to discuss is, let me check my time here. Whoa, we're getting close. I'm going to have to hurry up. Okay, next element of design is space. So I'm going to quicken it up a bit here. Basically, this was a shoot that was done right after a group shoot. I knew something was wrong with this young lady. She had been abused by her ex-boyfriend. She asked if she could do a shoot right after we did the group shoot. I said yes, and she needed this kind of cathartic shoot here to kind of expunge everything that she had going on emotionally. And yeah, she is really crying. That was the hardest shoot I ever did. The idea that I had here was to put her in the corner, crouch down in the corner, and create this kind of claustrophobic feeling around her, where she's in this corner, where there's like she feels trapped, she feels isolated, she feels alone. It's a hard image for me to look at. Then you got this 19-year-old Russian, you know, this knot comes along. Dude creates the same almost feeling of isolation and aloneness in the middle of an open freaking field. You know, it's a brilliant use of space. You have all this negative space going on here, and we have this young lady, and it's her pose that makes you feel that she feels isolated and alone. This is an image of Bill Brandt, or from Bill Brandt, for the artist Francis Bacon. If you've ever seen any of Francis Bacon's work, it's disturbing as hell. The guy is just, he's a mental case. I love his work. It's awesome. I just got to see a painting of his in Des Moines Art Center, actually. You know, one thing, a few things here, real quick. We're supposed to give our subject a lot of eye room to look into, correct? Well, he didn't do that. He created a sense of put a little bit of edge on this image by placing him close to the edge of the image here, by you know, not giving him much space to look into. So that's a little bit disconcerting. We have this lamp post. It's not vertical with the outside of the line here, outside of the frame. It's askew a little bit, so that helps create a little bit of mystery and awkwardness in itself. And then of course we have this brilliant leading line coming down into the subject matter, and then we have this kind of foreboding sky and ominous trees, and he didn't glorify his image here. I mean, the dude was ugly, and he's still ugly here. So, you know, if we were, you know, today, if we took this guy's image, we'd put him through Portrait Professional Pro and make him look like Pierce Brosnan or something like that. Brilliant use of space, Edward Weston. You know, take advantage of your environment. Color theory. Analogous, cool or warm, complementary, monochromatic. These are different color schemes you can use. A lot of people accuse me of doing monochromatic colors. I do not use monochromatic colors. Monochromatic is using the same color and adding white and black to it to tint the color one way or another, but you're still using the same color. Analogous colors is what I use, which are colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. And then recently I just found out that I don't use complementary colors very often. I use disordinate colors. Disordinate colors are colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel and then askew just a little bit. So they're not exactly opposite of each other on the color wheel. They tend to cause a lot of tension, and they tend to cause a lot of interaction with the eye. The eye wants to move quickly back and forth between these two colors, so it brings a lot of interest. If you don't know it, Cooler, a program called Cooler, is built into Photoshop 5. You just go to Windows, Extensions, and drop down to Cooler, and you get this cool little program here if you haven't used it before. If you do any graphic design, especially if you design your own cars, if you design your own website, you've got to know about Cooler because it gives you different color schemes based on triadic or analogous or complementary. It'll give you the colors opposite, so you can create a website that is visually appealing in its color form and not disgusting and make people throw up when they go there. Okay, here's basically an image of disordinate colors. We have the yellow and purple, the blue and orange, and the green and yellow, and that's kind of what I was wanting to show here. Cool colors. A little bit low-key is basically what's going on. Warm colors, and of course these are my images here, which you can tell. Basically just warm because it was kind of a summer day and she was happy and all that crap. This is Miles Adridge. If you want to learn color, look at the wonderful work of Miles Adridge. Unbelievable. Look at the textures and stuff in this Miles Adridge photo. Once again, complementary colors. We see lots of yellows and purples together. Same thing, yellow and purple. Okay, wow, we made it to the end because rhythm is actually a principle of design. So I think I'll turn it over to Rob here, and if we have time for any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And I'm sorry that I flew through that so fast, and forgive me for not knowing those artists' names. So
Wow.
If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than welcome to answer.
Brian, that was amazing. I think for the most part you had me and everyone else pretty much spellbound, and by the way, love your sense of humor.
Okay, well, good, because I'm glad that you understood it as a sense of humor, and it's not like calling 911 to have people, come pick me up.
I got a lot of people saying the same thing, and just saying things like, I don't know if you can hear me laughing down in Georgia, but they were having some good times. I got a couple comments. I saved a few sort of, I don't know if they're questions as they are observations and or input. Okay. I don't know that you need to go back to these images if you can easily find them or not. It doesn't really matter. You'll probably remember which ones they were. Somebody was Deb was commenting about the one of the previous images with the tiki shape, and she had mentioned that it helps maintain the vertical element. If you take it away, the direction of your eye follows more downward, and you lose the flow. So And she also commented on another image where you had made there's the tiki image, so that was pretty quick to get to. So that I think was an interesting comment from
It
Deb.
is. And it's cool to hear different input for things that I've looked at. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Deb's pretty insightful. She also mentioned on the picture of the two ladies, just a little beyond this one, where you had mentioned the coffin analogy, and she had mentioned that it's not what she sees. The window frame personifies the shape within a shape, and she says, "Oh, you just went by it." She says, forget the coffin reference. I think for pure artistic reasons, not that she's offended, but just for pure artistic reasons, I believe that's what she's saying. Debbie, if you want to chime in and help clarify that. Robert wants to know who shot the close-up of the lady behind the black veil.
That was Edward Steichen. Of Norma Shearer. Yes.
Google. Al is saying maybe it was just a place to hide the flash. Robert's mentioning too, we should all look at the master photographers of the past. We can learn so much. There's probably there's probably two big questions that are really burning through most people's minds, and I think Brian, we just scratched the surface. I don't know. I think you made mention of doing a series of webinars and perhaps delving back into, because I know you got a lot of stuff, and perhaps, I don't know, you willing to come back in a month or so and kind of continue this discussion?
Oh, of course. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'd love to talk about the principles of design and carry on with that.
And also, I don't know if you're willing to, because your images are absolutely spellbinding and captivating, and I'm sure people are like, how does he put that all together? So I don't know if there's something there that we could look at down the road. I'm sure people are asking that question. I'm convinced of it. Yeah, they're saying that. I'm getting comments. What was the name of the Russian photographer again? Kelly's asking.
It's Oleg Aprisco. Oleg, O-L-E-G, and A-P-I-R-I-C-O, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Judy's commenting that she agrees with Deb. Forget the coffin reference, shape within shape. Two women seem related, different ages, like a mother-daughter, like a portrait.
Now, what could they clarify the shape within shape type of thing here?
Yeah, do you guys want to chime in, Deb, Judy? The way I take it is it's just a shape within a shape. You've got, obviously the subjects are a shape, and in this case they're almost silhouetted, or you can't really, see any expressions or facial expressions. Deb is saying the shape of the actual photo should always be a reference point. So, does that make any sense? So Pam is, sorry.
It's kind of hard that once after you catch something in an image, and I do this a lot with myself, if I catch something in an image that that is, really catches my eye or my thought, it's very hard for me to not think that. So
yeah.
I would love to be able not to think this is a morbid image, but unfortunately that's my personality. If I grew up looking at the work of Joel Peter Witkin, and I don't suggest anybody looking at his stuff up until if they're not seeing a psychiatrist, they will soon afterwards. So,
yeah. Well, I guess what you're saying, and it begs the big question, and that is that a large part of, or another element to all of this is the intuitive side and the subjective angle that we all have. So.
Exactly. And you have to remember my background too. I started off shooting almost purely Gothic things, and it was just because of the models that I worked with. So that kind of thing. It's not that I disagree. I think it's great that somebody could look at this and not see that.
Yeah.
But that's why I chose the image, because I thought it was a very strong shape.
Yeah, Deb is commenting. In other words, the form follows function. I'm just looking at the comments here. We're getting a lot of comments coming through.
Okay.
Arved is suggesting that it's a male-female thing. He gets the coffin idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on here. Okay, Deb, I'm going to just make one more comment from Deb here. The frame of the photo depicts all of our reference points, therefore, whether it's horizontal or vertical. The particular photo was vertically pronounced due to the vertical window. So somebody put the name of that Russian guy, I think he spelled it out, Oleg, Olegoprisco. I don't know if you had a different spelling.
I think that's probably it. You know, I'm from hillbilly land.
Yeah.
I spell it like, you know, I'm going to spell it a Russian name.
Okay, well, since you're in the pronunciation, phonetics and all that, somebody way back when you were trying to mention the name of the Italian guy,
Yes.
phonetically spelt it out. Hold on here. They phonetically spelt it out for me, and I'm trying to find it. So, and I'm getting a lot of comments, Brian. People want to have you back, so that would be totally awesome if you're willing to do that.
Oh, of course, and that's very flattering, and I mean, of course, that's extremely appreciated.
I love that color thing. I've learned and studied the color wheel before, but you made some reference to the way you shoot. What was that terminology you used to the way that you shoot, where it's just they're not opposite, they're just askew a little bit?
Disordinate colors, just about kind of like dissonant chords on the piano.
Yeah, good analogy. Fibonacci.
Okay.
Hey, where's my pizza?
I know. I went to a Cheesecake Factory the other day and ordered a Italian dessert, and I couldn't even order it myself, so I just kind of pointed to it like I was a mute, and she said it, and that was cool. So, of course, I was never going to be able to pronounce that. But.
Next time you go, order the Fibonacci pasta. See what happens.
Yeah, it'll be perfectly laid out on the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we haven't got any really more questions. Just praise and more praise for you.
Well, that's very flattering, and I know that everybody's got all kinds of things to do, and that your attention is very appreciated, and especially about a subject that is usually considered fairly boring. So, but I think extremely important.
Yeah. Well, we just peeled back, one layer tonight. So, and I really appreciate you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and doing this for us. And again, I want to remind everybody, Brian is going to be doing a presentation at the infernoworkshop.com. So.
Let me say something about that just real quick.
Sure.
Is that during that 2-hour time frame, we'll be doing a full shoot from beginning to end. So people that want to see how I arrive at the images that I do, I don't do any pre-planning. Bam, it just happens on the fly. Somebody walks in, like a kid walked in the other day. I was like, "Wow, dude, you look like a serial killer." Got like it. So we put him in a bathtub and with a fake gun. He was bawling. It was a freaking mess, but it was cool. But they will see from beginning to end the whole shoot.
Yeah. Cool. So that's a great plug. So yeah, again, thank you very much. And again, I want to remind you this has been recorded, so we will have it in the forum, nobiasphotosuccess.com. So, Brian, appreciate your time. Everybody, thank you for showing up. I appreciate everybody logging in. And we will keep you posted on if and when we get Brian to come back. Well, I'm sure he will come back, and we'll send out an email to all of you to let you know more about that. Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.